Thank you. Wow, what an evening. I want to honor every one of you for being here tonight and for supporting this work. I'm going to have a PowerPoint come up here in just a minute. And as we're waiting for that to come up, I'm just going to start talking. So I first got the call to go to Kenya in 2010. I had started a center in Kamloops, British Columbia, very intentionally thinking that it was going to be a place where I was going to put down roots and retire, and I loved it there. I loved Kamloops, I loved the center. I was there for 5.5 years. Then I went to Denver, Colorado to a ministers conference, and I was sitting in a visioning session, minding my own business, and I heard a voice in my head. I don't do voices in my head. And I heard a voice in my head said, go to Africa. And I looked around going like, are you kidding me? Who, me? Anyway, I did. So I sold everything, and I went to Kenya with my then 23-year-old son and his cat. That's the funny part. So I went there not knowing anything or anybody or what I would do or what it would look like. So I stayed there for 7 months the first time I went in 2010, and I called it doing a feasibility study, because what I really was trying to determine is if it was a viable idea to start a center in Kenya, and I've determined that it really is. So we're now in the beginning stages of becoming certified in both Alberta. We've got a board in Alberta now that we're just getting set up as a society here as a nonprofit in Alberta, and I'm also concurrently setting up a foundation in Kenya, the Kenya Science of Mind Center. So we are actually going to be on the map, a real organization. So for those of you that don't know, Kenya is this little country right here on the northeastern part of Africa, and to give you a little sense of it, Kenya is smaller land-wise than Alberta. Alberta has just over 3 million people. Kenya has 46 million. All of Canada, which is, I'm not sure land-wise if it would be bigger, it's probably comparable to all of Africa. All of Canada has 33 million. Kenya has 46 million. So there's a lot of people in a very small area. So the areas that there are people are very, very highly congested and populated, because there's many areas in the country that are not habitable. So the areas that are very congested. So I decided to settle in Nairobi. So my base is in Nairobi, Kenya, which is the capital. And it's actually quite an international city. It's where the consulates are, so it's got quite an international flavor. The first year I went there, I was talking with people about the science of mind. Many people had discovered us because with the advent of the internet, they had been contacting Centers for Spiritual Living. So there was quite a few people that were already interested. But what's interesting, 4 years later, there's only about 2 of those original people that are still interested in actually studying the science of mind. But it is growing. The vision of the Kenya Science of Mind Center is one spirit, one world, one people. Our mission is to celebrate our diversity and consciously create an empowered community. And our purpose is to provide quality instruction of science of mind and to recognize the inherent wholeness and power of the individual. Beautiful. And the values is based on the 3 C's: community, connection, and celebration. So tonight we get to celebrate our connection in our community with what we have going on in Kenya. And I think that's really, really exciting that there's so many of you that embrace this idea tonight and dressed up African, and it's been truly magnificent. The Centers for Spiritual Living has a vision statement of touching and transforming 100 million lives. I believe in order for us to do that, we need to be where the people are. It's the Centers for Spiritual Living, so we need to be where the people are living. And so it's about breaking down the walls, which I've always been about. It's just now in a bigger way about breaking down the walls of where we are. So this picture that you see here is a slum school. And if I know that word slum kind of got me going at first too, but really that's what they call it. And so it's to them just another word. But these kids are kids that I teach in Nairobi. This woman here and her husband standing over there are two of my adult students, and they run this school. There's about 250 students in this school. You've noticed that many of you have already gotten cards to sponsor a student. So the idea is to sponsor some of these kids. These are their desks. They're just pieces of wood nailed together. These are their schoolrooms. They're corrugated tin. It's just, I was appalled the first time I went there, but you know the beautiful part of it is, they don't realize they're in a slum. They are the happiest, smiling, joyous little children that I've ever experienced. They're really quite lovely. This is a group of adult students that I went to visit. It was quite interesting. They wanted me to come and visit them, but they didn't speak any English. And I don't speak Swahili or even their dialect. What's also unique about Kenya is there's 46 tribes in Kenya. And every tribe has its own language, not dialect, language. So they have a common language, which is Swahili, which is spoken in Nairobi. English is also their second language because they were colonized by the British. But you don't have to go far out of Nairobi, and you don't even get Swahili most of the time. You get all of their dialects. So these women are all, as you can tell, have their own families. Elderly women are going to school. The fellow that I was telling you that teaches the slum school, he teaches these people reading, writing, and arithmetic, and sewing, so that they can go out and earn a living for their students. So they wanted me to come and talk to them. This is my adult class. I'm very proud of my class. We weren't all here this day. We've got one more class and we're finished the first accredited Science of Mind classes in Kenya. Yeah. And what to me is fascinating, I have 8 students in that class. 6 of them have already declared their intention to become ministers because they want to take this teaching out to their villages, because it really became quickly apparent to me that I couldn't do that. So thank God for them. Pardon me?
One of the things that I think is absolutely amazing is how you teach that class from Canada.
Oh, thank you for pointing that out. Yes, thank you, Kathleen. And I continue to teach that class in Canada. I have a Wi-Fi video phone. I left one of them in Kenya, and so they go hook up and they get together every Sunday morning. I teach a class at 7 o'clock on Sunday mornings before I come to church. I teach them.
Wow.
The kids that I teach in the slum school are the children from grades 5 to 8, because the younger ones, I found that these concepts, because I'm teaching them science of mind. That's what I'm teaching these kids. And the concepts, the little kids, they don't have a big enough grasp of English that it just wasn't working well. So it's grades 5 to 8 that I'm teaching. But last year, the entire year I was there, I picked a theme, and my theme was light. And you know that for us, light in a spiritual means intelligence. And so I was teaching them all of the aspects of light. So every week then I would go out there, we would talk about another aspect of light. And then I found a thing on the internet on how to make light, because they're in the slum and they don't have electricity. And so inside of their tin schoolrooms, it's quite dark. And so we got this project, and this is what we're doing this day. We did this at the end. Patrick and I went and worked with them the last day before we came back. And you take a 2-liter clear pop bottle, you fill it up with water, you put a cap full of bleach in it, you seal it up, you cut it into this corrugated tin, cut a hole in the roof, you put it in there, and it's a solar light, and it's like a 60-watt bulb. It was amazing. We brought light to them. So I think it's fabulous because the kids then wanted to go and teach their parents how to make light. So I can imagine when I go back there, because I'm going back in 2 weeks, the first time I can just imagine this sea of pop bottles sticking out of the top of the slums. This young man, the first year I was there, his name is Martin. Martin captured my heart the first year I was there, and he was so keen and so eager, and every time I would ask a question, he'd be like, "Teacher, teacher, teacher," and he'd be jumping out of the seat. He was just always so keen. So one day we were doing a session about what it is that you would like to be, and he said he wanted to be a doctor. Now he has a single mom and another sister, but he wanted to be a doctor, he said, because there's so many of his friends and their parents and people in the slum that die because there's no medical care in the slum for them. And so he wants to be a doctor so that he can go help these people in the slum. A year ago, about a year and a half ago now, I was in Las Vegas because the center there also supports my work. And I was in Las Vegas doing a fundraiser, and I found myself telling the story of Martin. Went away, thought nothing more of it, got back, and they contacted me and they said, if you could find Martin, somebody's come forward and they want to pay for his schooling. So I did. Last year I went back to Nairobi, was talking to Jeffrey, he's the teacher, and I said, you know, because I knew that Martin wasn't in his school anymore, because he was past that grade. And Jeffrey said, well, of course I know where Martin is. Well, Martin had they're in the British school system, and at the end of grade 8, they write sort of like our departmental exams. All of the schools look at all of the grades, and then they send out invitations inviting various students. Well, he'd had 3 quite prestigious schools contact him to go to their school. The problem was, Martin didn't have any money to go to school, and he had finished grade 8, which meant that he couldn't go to school in the slum anymore. He had to go to high school, which for him meant that he had to leave and go to a boarding school. Well, I mean, it was just impossible that could have happened until I showed up, and the universe just showed up in such a magnificent way. And so this is us, went shopping for young Martin, and he's got his little pail, because he's got to take his pail to school, and everything he owns in this little suitcase. And this is the school that Martin is now going in. Wow. The boarding school. We know that one day we're going to say, I knew that boy when. He is going to do something magnificent. His grades, learning in the slum school where he learned, they don't have books, they don't have desks, they don't have materials. It is an oral teaching. He is a genius. He got, what was it, 365 out of 400 or something like that. I mean, defies my imagination. It really does, that this boy did what he did. This is my Bob Clay Pass, my volunteer extraordinaire. One of the things that I'm really setting up is I want everybody to come to visit me in Kenya. I really do. Because I want them to get it. I want them to know it's more than me. There's a bigger idea. There's all of these people. They need to hear it from more people than just me. And I know Trish and Donna are coming next November to come over and work with me. And Natasha is also planning on coming next year. I have another volunteer from Vancouver. Catherine's mother's friend in Vancouver is coming to stay with me for 6 months because my darling husband is not coming home with me this time, and he is staying here. So she's going to be coming to volunteer with me. And so Bob came the first time I was over and helped me set up a lending library over there. And so I want you to know that if you ever have a desire to visit Africa, talk to to me. Talk to me, because we're going to be setting up what we call, there's a huge movement of voluntourism. And it's where you come and volunteer. Patrick used to work for a safari company, Bosco Tours, and he is an incredible guide. And so between the two of us, we will make sure that you have every dream of Africa fulfilled while you're there. So please come and volunteer with us. Another project that we were involved with was to do with the teens. Now, many of you, if you've known me for a while, know that I have been very involved with the teen groups for many, many years. And so Global Services has partnered with Outreach Africa. It's a practitioner and her husband that had gone to Tanzania and fell in love with what they were doing over there. And they developed this project, a fundraising project, where we make these bags of food that are shipped over by the container load and distributed in Africa. Well, the teens had done, when was that, Catherine? 2009, 2010 or something? 2008 maybe? Anyway, it was before I had gone. The teens had done the fundraiser, but while I was there, the food was being shipped to Africa, and they wanted the food to come to me in Kenya. Tanzania is the next country over. Well, I was really leery about this because I didn't want to be the person with the handouts, because that's really their cultural beliefs, is that if you're white and you're a minister, you're there to give them money and do their projects, and they've always got their handout. Well, I'm there to teach. I'm not there to give them things. And so I was teaching them that, no, if you want to learn the science of mind, I will teach you, but I'm not here to do your projects. And the food shows up, and I'm thinking, now what am I going to do? Got to do something with this food. So enter Patrick, distributed the food. He got to be the face of the food, so they didn't know it was coming through me. So that was a really good thing. So this is the teens. There's the boxes of food that went over. And here's Patrick was delivering some boxes of food to various groups around Nairobi. So there's several pictures here where he was, different groups he was delivering, and some kids eating the food. And so this year, one of my goals is to start a food program at the school that I'm working in, because many of those children only, maybe if they get one meal a day, get one meal a day, and that's it. And that's at the evening when their parents or whoever their caregiver is comes home with something for them to eat. So they go to school, but they go to school from 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening. And they have to be at school at 6 in the morning because that's when their parents have to leave to walk out of the slum to go find work for the day. And then 6 in the evening because that's, by then that's what time the parents get home in the evening. And so in the school, there's 250 students in the school that I'm teaching in this one little tiny area. And they have all the way from like 2 years old to 13 or 14 years old. And you might ask why 2 years old. It's because in order to encourage the older children to come to school, we have to take the little babies as well, because there's no place for them to go. And so if we didn't have any place for the babies, then the older kids couldn't come to school. So we have babies all the way through. This is Dana. Dana, where are you? Where's Dana? Dana and her sewers. Last year, they said that they sent me, I think it was 165 dresses and shorts that they sent to the school. Now this is one of those loaves and fishes stories, and this is an actual true story. So when the shipment finally arrived, and I won't tell you that story, 80 dresses and 80 shorts, right. So the shipment finally gets there. We went to the school and we're distributing them. There was 250 students in the school. Everyone got something. They only sent 160. I'm serious. Don't ask. Yes. So there's the children. This year, I don't know how many we've got coming over. The Center of Las Vegas did a bunch as well and sent up. So we're clothing the kids again this year as well. They've been busy sewing. And the teens have done t-shirts. We took t-shirts for the teens. And David, where is he? David? Thank you. He's been in charge with the teens over there. And they're busy doing more t-shirts for us to take to the teens this year, because of course they don't want pillowcase dresses. It has been an incredibly humbling experience to be there and to work with these people. I could go on forever telling you stories of the learnings and the growth. All I know is if you change one life, that's all it takes. Because the ripples out from that are magnificent. And if it wasn't for your support and supporting this project and supporting me to be there, it wouldn't be happening. Because one of the things I quickly realized when I went there the first time is these people have generations of poverty consciousness. And they don't know what they don't know. They don't know what we have to teach them. They're beginning to realize it. They're beginning to have the inklings of that. But in order for me to be there to teach, I don't charge anything to be there. I don't charge for classes. So all of my support has to come from here in order for me to be there to teach them. So it's events like this, centers that are supporting me, people that are supporting this idea, because I absolutely know that it is the right place and the right time. And these people are so ready. So some of the projects we want to do this year, again, is back at the school. We're growing the school. That project, we want to put in a food program, working with Outreach Africa, having the food come. But that means that we've got to have people to make the food and supplies and those sort of things. We want to do a food program for the children. We also, my goal is when I go back this time to have a sponsor for every one of those students so that they each get a uniform and their school supplies paid for. That's my goal before I go back. I think we're almost there. Also, for the adults, I take suitcases and suitcases and suitcases of spiritual books over with me. One of the things here in this country, I've been around this teaching for many years, it's now become quite mainstream. You can get it anywhere. You can pick up a book, you can turn on the TV, you can, put in go to a center, it's everywhere. It's not that way in Africa. This is so new there. There's no books there, there's nothing. So everything that I have to take with me. Well, I gotta tell you, transporting books over there to teach is a fairly costly endeavor, just in, even if they're donated books, just in the duty and charges and the shipping. And so this time I'm going to try something a little bit different, and I plan on taking 8 suitcases of dresses, shorts, and books with me this time. And so that should be fun. But every suitcase costs $160 for 50 pounds for me to take. And it wouldn't have mattered if I shipped it, it was about the same. So I'm hoping I'm going to save on some duties this time by taking the stuff with me. Plus I'll get it when I get there instead of having to wait 3 months for it to show up. So that's my goal. Also, my goal as well for the adult students is to have a room, rent an office space, so we have an office space. I can move the lending library out of my home, have a place for classes, because now we're going to probably